This is Brian Mosteller. Welcome to SC Conversation. This week's guest is school board candidate Angie Mosley for Area 21 of the Greenville County School Board. Angie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, great. To start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Brian, I have lived in Greenville since 1997 with my husband, and we have three beautiful children. They are 18, 15, and 14. So I have one that has finished Greenville County Schools and two that are still in Greenville County Schools, 9th grade and 10th grade respectively. I am a former employee of Bank of America. I was a corporate trainer for Bank of America for 8 years, and I started my own business 21 years ago. I am the director, owner of the National League of Junior Cotillions Greenville chapter here, where I teach etiquette and ballroom dance to middle school students, and I've done that for 21 years, it's just a lot of fun. So that is a little bit about my professional background.
Okay, well, great, great. So tell us a little bit about why you're running for the school board.
Well, interestingly enough, almost 19 years ago, my first child was born with a disability. And that set me out on a journey that was very unique and unexpected, frankly, and eventually led to my becoming a special education advocate for him and then for many others in the school district. And so for 12 years, I have navigated the school system. Coincidentally enough, my second child also has learning disabilities, has individual education plan called an IEP. So I really have had two children in the school district for a very long time with special needs, or that get special education services. So navigating the school system for this long with two children that require a little bit of outside the box thinking, it's just become second nature to me, and I have a strong interest. And so when we found ourselves in this educational, what I call crisis right now, this as a result of this pandemic, it's affected me very deeply as a person, as a special education advocate, as a parent, as a mom. So I've been asked for many years to run for school board because I do have a passion for special education in particular, and people have thought that would be a great voice I would bring to the table. But the timing's never been exactly right. But this year is different, and this year I have a lot of concerns, and I realized that in many ways I had not been paying attention to policies and things that I probably should have been paying a little more attention to. And so I have thrown my hat in the ring.
Well, great. Since you have kids in school, and with this current situation with the pandemic and everything, what are some of the changes you'd like to see, or what are some of the things that you don't necessarily agree with about the going back to school 1 day a week and the virtual, and I think next week is supposed to be 2. So give us some of your thoughts on that.
Well, from the beginning, I have been a big proponent of choice. Our governor asked many, many weeks ago, right in the middle of summer when all of this was coming down, that parents be given a choice, that they be given a choice between virtual for families that really need the virtual option, whether it was a health concern, maybe another family member of the health concern, and then parents that needed their children to be in school for 5 days. Children like my son, who really benefits better from face-to-face instruction. His learning disabilities are simply not compatible with a virtual platform. And so all along, I was really hoping that Greenville County would offer a choice for parents, both the virtual choice, I'm not anti-virtual anything, and a choice for 5-day instruction. And so when they came down with this complicated plan of attending it's really a sliding scale where depending on whatever the DHEC spread is, when they came down with this plan, it's just thrown a lot of chaos into, you've thrown families into crisis financially where childcare is concerned, logistical crisis where childcare is concerned. You've got working families, single parent families. You've got children like mine who have IEPs. I think there's 11,800 students in Greenville County that receive special education services. And that's very complicated to get in a virtual setting. So there's just many, many things that I worry about in terms of our children not being served adequately, the social emotional needs for some of these children, We've seen the statistics. Mental health professionals have warned us about everything from the domestic violence rates, child abuse rates, suicide rates, lots of things. Mental health across the board is a concern for people. And so I have just really struggled with worrying about the students that we don't know where they are necessarily, or the students that don't have the appropriate supports at home, the families that are really struggling to get through every single day, or having to choose between a job and educating their child. That's tough.
Right. No, yes, I agree 100%. That is, and there's a lot of parents out there trying to having to make that decision. So, people talk about Greenville County School Board being very large, which it is, Greenville County school system. So what would you like to see done as far as an evaluation, just to see if it should be broken down or could be broken down into districts?
People have been talking about that for years, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not an expert on that. I would love for someone that has the expertise to present what that would look like. You know, I think one of the challenges with that is the fact that Greenville County is a choice system. We have a lot of choice schools. In fact, my family takes advantage of school choice by having 2 students attend a school that we're not zoned for on special permission. And I do appreciate the fact that Greenville County offers families those options. And so that, I would need to see how that would look in terms of dividing up the district. I'm not anti-dividing up the district. I came from the middle part of the state where the districts were much, much smaller. And so the zoning here, the size of the district, it is very complicated. It's very complex. And I have from time to time thought that it could possibly stand to be divided up a little bit. But I don't have the expertise on what that looks like. So I would certainly want someone to provide that kind of information to me.
Right. But you wouldn't be against the evaluation?
No, I would certainly entertain the information.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So I know you talk to a lot of people. So have you talked to many teachers since this all happened? And what are you hearing from the teachers in the area?
Yes. So I'm very fortunate. I have lots of teacher friends. I'm actually the daughter of a retired educator. So I've grown up in a household with teachers. And so I've always appreciated the challenges of the job. I've always appreciated the struggles, the frustrations. And so, you know, I have a lot of teacher friends that are texting and messaging me and calling me almost every day with either frustrations or just observations that they're making. The general sense from many is that there are a lot of fantastic teachers that are completely overwhelmed right now with being asked to do so many different things and wear so many different hats. Some of them are more comfortable with a virtual platform than others. Some of them are having to just do double the amount of work. Some of them are working way beyond their contracted hours, and they're just feeling extremely stressed, underappreciated, just genuinely overwhelmed. And the joy that they would find from their job under normal situations, they're just not finding it. And of course, they're worried about some of the same things I am, about some of the students that they're not seeing, that they're not, reaching.
Right. Right.
Especially those young ones. The young ones where so much of the interaction is important to see, when a teacher sees the light bulb go off in a student's head, or those years like between kindergarten and second grade, when you're really trying to teach those students to read and some of those really basic early learning developmental skills. I don't know. I don't know how that's being really fulfilled in this model we have going on right now.
Right. So what are 1 or 2 issues you think that the school board or the administration should implement to maybe make everything better here as far as with the pandemic and going to school and things like that? Well,
Brian, first of all, I just think we need to go to school 5 days a week. For me, it's very simple. I understand the concerns about the pandemic, but if you look at the science and the reports, and frankly, if you look at what's been published lately by even some of our local news outlets, where they are questioning a lot of the data that's coming out,
Exactly.
and this is data that we're basing decisions on. I'm very uncomfortable making educational policy on data that, in my opinion, is not reliable. And so, I'll be honest, I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know everything that our leaders are being told, but I have a lot of questions. And so right now, I would like to see, I don't even think the school board's even meeting that frequently. In a situation where we're in a crisis right now, in my opinion, we need to be doing everything we can to be getting our students back in school. And in many ways, I feel like we've spent more time trying to keep our students out of school than we've tried to get them back in.
Those are all great points. And you're, like I say, you're a mom, so you're seeing a lot of this stuff firsthand and living it day to day, where a lot of the school board members, they don't have kids in school.
Right.
So we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back and talk to Angie Mosley in just a minute. Thanks. I would like to take this time to thank all of the wonderful people and businesses who are sponsoring this show. When you visit the businesses, be sure to go in and tell them thank you for sponsoring SC Conversation.
Hardwood flooring is the most popular kind of flooring, and no one has a larger selection of hardwood flooring than Greer Flooring Center. Remember, you'll always find what you're looking for at the price you're looking for at Greer Flooring Center.
Hey, Upstate, Dave Ramsey here to tell you about our investing ELPs, Roger Sims and Jason Carr at Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Roger and Jason are the only people I personally endorse for investing right here in the Upstate. They specialize in retirement planning, 401k rollovers, as well as mutual funds and other investments. I personally recommend Roger Sims and Jason Carr of Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Call Roger and Jason today at 879-0337. That's 879-0337.
Today's luxury vinyl tiles are not just durable, they provide beauty for your home. And Greer Flooring Center has the largest selection of luxury vinyl tiles and planks in the Upstate. Visit the Greer Flooring showroom to see these exciting new products.
Welcome back to SC Conversation. We're talking with Angie Mosley here, who's running for the Greenville County School Board. Angie, thanks for all the dialogue we've had so far, but I know you are an advocate for special education.
I am.
So I want to take a few minutes and just kind of pick your brain there. I know you have a son with an IEP.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about your concerns for him in regard to the current school situation?
Sure. So my middle child has an individual education plan. If folks don't know what an IEP means, that's what it means. And he is to receive a certain amount of what they call special education services to support his deficits. And every single child out there in Greenville County that has an IEP has different needs. So, for example, some receive speech services, some receive occupational therapy services, some physical therapy services, some receive what they call resource services, where they're working on particular goals within their individual education plan. And so it looks different for every single child, which is what makes it so complicated to deliver, in my opinion, in a virtual, setting. For me, for my son personally, he has 4 disability labels, and they are ADHD, he has a processing disorder, he has an executive function disorder, and he has written language expression disorder. And it's a challenge for him to e-learn, to outside of the classroom. He just requires a lot of support to navigate through his work, to make sure it's finished. Anything that's multi-step, again, because of his lack of executive function, he can't necessarily, he just forgets to do things. I mean, he told my husband and I the first week of school that he was done. And when we went back and checked through his Google Classroom, guess what? There was half the assignments had not been either completed or turned in the way he thought they were supposed to be. So there's just a lot of gaps we're having to fill. Couple that with the fact that my husband and I haven't done Algebra 2 since, forever.
Right.
So we're struggling we're not content experts,
Right.
and subject matter experts. So we're struggling, and I know I'm not the only family out there going through this.
Right. No, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's several families, probably most all the families, because some of our kids in Greenville County are being raised by single-parent households, grandparents. So I can't imagine what they're actually having to go through. So you're also an advocate for special needs. So from a broader issue, tell us a little bit about some of your concerns there.
Well, as I mentioned, I've navigated the school system for a long time. I have sat at a lot of what I call IEP tables across Greenville County, and I just know that every single child's needs are unique and different, and it's hard on a good day to meet the needs of all of these children. I worry about certain populations within our county who don't have the parent support at home. I worry about the fact that many parents are struggling to balance their jobs and support. And when you have a child that needs that extra support, it's exhausting on a level that it's very difficult to explain. Some of the parents who send their children to school, I know that there's been this whole, I guess, brouhaha of, well, schools aren't your babysitters. But in many cases, when you're raising a child with special needs, when you send them to school to get that instruction, the parent's getting a little bit of a respite, a little bit of a break. And that's important for a parent's mental health. That's important for the child too. And so I just have a lot of concerns across the board. Our special education departments are sending out what they call contingency plans right now. I have personally seen where they have, number one, not involved the parent in the meeting, which is supposed to not happen. And number two, they've changed the child's service hours to meet the narrative. So for example, if they're only in school 1 day a week or 2 days a week, a child has gone from receiving on a standard week of, let's say, 255 minutes of service. That's how they quantify things in minutes. A child might receive 15 minutes of service or 55 minutes of service, depending on how many days we're in school. Well, the federal IDEA, which is the Individuals of Disabilities of Education Act, has not been relaxed. It has not redefined what they call FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education. And so as a result, what I'm seeing happen in Greenville County is frankly against the law. It's wrong. And it's happening right now. People are receiving what they're calling contingency plans, which are basically changes to a child's IEP without the parent being involved.
I mean, who would somebody who had a child with an IEP, who would they contact to say, hey, I have not been contacted? Who would they contact? Would they call Greenville County School administration offices? Is there a number?
Well, technically speaking, they should always work through their school first.
Okay.
They should always go through, every single person should have a case manager, and that's usually a special education teacher. And then that teacher can call, a parent has the right to call an IEP meeting at any time for any reason. And I do know that what I'm hearing, and again, I'll be honest with you, I have a child on IEP and I've yet to be contacted. I know that if there's 11,000 in the system right now, they're rolling it out in phases, so maybe I'm on the list somewhere down the line. But some of the practice is not being done consistently. There are some parents that are being called into a meeting. There are some parents that are being emailed the contingency plan and just being told, let us know if you have questions. It's not being rolled out consistently. I'm not convinced that Greenville County themselves have been told or given appropriate information from the South Carolina Department of Education. I have a lot of questions there. I know for a fact that there are advocates in the state of South Carolina right now that are looking at all of this because, and this is not just South Carolina, this is, United States wide. Special education is in significant jeopardy right now in terms of delivering services, with these hybrid models that are going on, with these virtual, educational platforms. So schools are just struggling, and the Department of Education is supposed to provide guidance to school districts, and I'm just not sure that what school districts are being told is accurate.
Okay.
Because the federal law has not changed.
Right.
It is very clear
Right.
that the way it's always been defined continues to exist.
Right. Right. So maybe we'll do some follow-up on that and try to contact somebody with Greenville County or some other counties to make sure these kids are being taken care of. You're an advocate.
Yeah.
So what experience or voice do you bring to the table? Because I think it would be it's very important, but also it would be advantageous to have somebody like yourself on the school board who could bring things like this up where it's not everybody's expertise.
Well, thank you. It is interesting. You pointed out that a lot of our current school board members do not even have children in the school districts. And so I do have a big concern about that. I think you have to have skin in the game to really be invested in something. I do bring a unique voice because right now I don't know that there is a strong voice for special education on the board. I do know that there are some board members who ask great questions and who are willing to try to advocate for special education, but they've never walked the walk. So a lot of times when they ask the questions, they don't always realize the answers they're getting might not be correct or might not really answer the question. And so I've walked the walk for a long time. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything, but I'm very resourceful. I surround myself with really good people, and I've lived it. And so therefore, I do bring that unique perspective as a parent as well as an advocate to the table. I have always advocated in Greenville County for my own children, inclusive education. I believe every child with a disability has the right to an equal education with their non-disabled peers. And I have fought tirelessly to see that my son was fully included at every opportunity he could possibly be. So I have a vision for what I would like to see in Greenville County as far as improvements that we can make, particularly in the inclusive education area.
Have you talked to any special ed teachers or resource teachers here lately, and what are they saying?
Well, I've talked to my own son's resource teacher, and he's struggling. He's struggling as a teacher because they want to do the right thing. I find that's the interesting thing about teachers. I have always worked well with teachers because I find that teachers always or often want to do the right thing. I do find sometimes that their hands are tied by administrative decisions and or district decisions that prevent them, or they feel prevented from doing those things. And that's very frustrating to them. And so a lot of times in the course of advocating for my children or for a child, I find myself indirectly advocating for a teacher. I think teachers are amazing. I think they're asked to do incredible and sometimes impossible things. And so in addition to being a voice for special education, I'm hoping to be also a voice for teachers because, like I said, as the daughter of a retired teacher, I have such a great respect for the profession. And I really, just growing up in the household, had such an inside glimpse as to what teachers, face every day. So, but I'm hearing from some teachers, both special ed and non-special ed, they're just all doing their best right now to deliver on an educational model that right now, frankly, doesn't fit anyone really well, right, including a teacher.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I've talked to some teachers, and basically it's exactly what you're saying. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to get through this. Mm-hmm. They're just winging it day by day.
They are.
Unfortunately, they're being made to work longer hours, mm-hmm, and they don't feel like they're making a difference.
No.
That's one of the key things.
Regrettably, I agree with you, and they are very, especially the ones that the teachers I know have such a passion for what they do, and when they can't see these children more than one day a week, it's difficult to see the light bulbs go off. It's difficult to know whether a child is getting something or not, and then the teacher worries, am I failing that child? Am I not seeing what I should be seeing? I mean, I know some kindergarten teachers in particular, that's such a critical year,
Right.
and so they're already feeling stressed about meeting the standards, and all the teachers are stressed about meeting the standards, and they're like, how are we even going to do this in this current situation? And so I have really asked all of the parents I know to just, we're all frustrated, but we need to be reminded where our frustrations need to be directed.
Right.
Because right now it's really not at our teaching staff.
Right. So just to switch back,
Sure.
take the next minute and a half or so and tell us why you think you'd be a great candidate for the school board, why you are a great candidate. And I appreciate the time you spent, but just take a minute and a half and let us know.
Well, I feel like I'll be a little bit redundant, but I do have a strong background in special education. I've served as the president of the Down Syndrome Family Alliance here in Greenville. I've served on Langston Charter Middle School's board. Two of my children went through the charter middle school. I've served on Pro Parents of South Carolina's board. So I've always had a passion for education, particularly in the special education realm. I am a parent of of 2 children with special needs and 3 children total. I don't want to forget the children that don't have special needs because I'm really an advocate for all children and all of their educational rights. And so I feel like I bring a fresh perspective, a different perspective, one that's really grounded in common sense. And, I hope that I will listen to constituents and be a conduit for their concerns.
Okay. Well, great. Well, Angie, thank you very much for being
welcome.
here. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on running for the school board.
Thank you.
You sound like you'd be a great addition to the school board based on your background and everything. And thanks to the viewers for watching SC Conversation. And have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again to our guests and our wonderful sponsors. Remember, you can stay informed about SC Conversation during the week on our Facebook page and website. Also, feel free to send us an email at info@scconversation.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening.